The massive alien ship dropped out of hyperspace with a flash of blue light. Its black hull stretched over 2 miles long, covered in sharp spikes and glowing red marks that looked like scars. This was a Cathara warship, built for hunting and killing. Inside the ship, Captain Zexthai stood on the bridge, his 8-foot frame covered in natural armor that gleamed like polished stone. Zexthai had been hunting for 3 years. Not hunting for food or territory, but hunting for revenge. His yellow eyes burned with anger as he stared at the small blue planet ahead of them. Somewhere down there lived the human who had made him look like a fool. 3 years ago, Zexthai had been the pride of his clan. The Cathara were the greatest predators in the galaxy, feared by every species they met. They hunted other intelligent beings for sport, taking trophies from their kills. Zexthai had led many successful hunts, bringing honor to his family name. Then he met Jake Morrison. The memory still made Zexthai's claws dig into the metal rail in front of him. Morrison had been alone on a dead rock planet called Kepler 442b, doing some kind of survey work. He looked weak and helpless like all humans did. The perfect prey for a hunting party, but something went wrong. Morrison had turned the tables on them. He used the planet's environment against the hunters, setting traps and using their own weapons against them. By the end of that nightmare week, half of Zexthai's hunting pack was dead, and the rest were running for their lives. The shame had followed Zexthai home. Other Cathara whispered behind his back. His own clan elders questioned his leadership. Some younger warriors challenged him to fights, thinking he had gone soft. Zexthai won those fights, but barely. His confidence was shattered. For months, he planned his return. He studied everything he could find about humans. He learned their weaknesses, their fears, their fighting styles. He gathered a new hunting pack, the best warriors he could find. This time, there would be no mistakes. His second-in-command, a scarred veteran named Threx, approached the captain's platform. "We have found the target, sir. The human Morrison lives on the 3rd planet. Intelligence says it is an agricultural world called Haven's Rest." Zexthai turned his massive head toward the tactical display. The planet looked peaceful from here, covered in green and brown patches that meant farmland and forests. How many humans live there? About 2,000 scattered across several small settlements. No military bases, no orbital defenses. It will be easy to isolate our target. Easy, that word made Zexthai pause. He had thought Morrison would be easy prey the first time too. But intelligence reports suggested the human had given up his survey work and become a farmer. Maybe the terror of their first meeting had broken his spirit. Maybe he really had gone soft. "What do we know about Morrison's current activities?" Zexthai asked. Threx consulted his datapad. "He owns a small farm on the northern continent. Grows grain crops. Lives alone, though he has contact with neighboring farmers. Our sources say he keeps to himself and rarely talks about his past." That sounded right. Humans often retreated into simple lives when they were traumatized. Morrison was probably trying to forget what happened on Kepler 442b, hiding from the memory of how close he came to death. The thought pleased Zexthai. "Sir, should we begin the approach?" asked the ship's navigator. Zexthai nodded. "Take us into the atmosphere. I want to land near Morrison's farm, but not too close. We will approach on foot. I want him to see us coming." The warship descended through Haven's Rest's atmosphere like a falling mountain. Its engines roared loud enough to shake windows in the settlements below. Zexthai wanted the humans to know something dangerous had arrived on their peaceful world. On the bridge, the hunting party made final preparations. 20 elite Cathara warriors checked their weapons and armor. Each one was a proven killer, selected from dozens of volunteers who wanted to restore their captain's honor. They carried plasma rifles that could melt through steel, and their natural claws were sharp enough to cut through most metals. "Remember," Zexthai addressed his warriors, "the human Morrison is mine. You may kill any others who interfere, but Morrison dies by my hand alone. I want him to know why he is dying. I want him to understand the price of humiliating a Cathara warrior." The warriors clicked their claws against their weapons in acknowledgement. They had heard this speech many times during the long journey, but they understood its importance. This was not just about killing one human. This was about restoring their captain's reputation and proving that the Cathara were still the galaxy's apex predators. As the ship settled onto a flat area, about 2 miles from Morrison's farm, Zexthai felt his heart rate increase. The hunt was beginning again. This time there would be no surprises. This time, the human would pay for what he had done. The landing ramp lowered with a hiss of hydraulics. Alien sunlight streamed into the ship, revealing a landscape of golden grain fields and blue sky. It looked so peaceful, so innocent. Zexthai smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Peaceful worlds were his favorite hunting grounds. Deploy in hunting. Formation, he ordered. Advance slowly. I want Morrison to have time to see us coming. I want him to feel the fear building. The Cathara warriors spread out across the farmland, their dark forms moving through the grain like sharks through water. Each one was a perfect killing machine, evolved on a world where only the strongest survived. Their homeworld had no mercy. No safety, no peace. They brought that harsh reality with them wherever they went, but as they approached Morrison's farm, something felt different. Zexthai could not identify what it was at first. The farm looked normal enough. A simple house, some outbuildings, fields of crops. But there was something in the air, a feeling that made his warrior instincts prickle with unease. Sir, Threx's voice came through the CUM system. I am detecting some unusual energy readings from the target's property. What kind of readings? Unknown. The patterns do not match any human technology in our databases. Zexthai paused. Unknown technology could mean surprises, and surprises were dangerous, but he had come too far to turn back now. Besides, what could one human farmer have that would threaten 20 Cathara warriors? Continue the advance, he ordered. Maintain alertness, but do not let unknown readings stop us. Morrison is still just a human. As they moved closer to the farmhouse, Zexthai began to make out more details. The building looked well maintained but simple. There were vehicles parked nearby, the kind farmers used for their work. Everything appeared normal and harmless. Then the front door of the house opened. Jake Morrison stepped outside, and Zexthai felt a shock of recognition. The human looked older than he remembered, with gray streaks in his hair and new lines on his face. But his eyes were the same calm blue that had haunted Zexthai's nightmares. Morrison looked directly at the approaching Cathara warriors without any sign of fear or surprise. He had been expecting them. The human stood on his porch with his hands at his sides, watching 20 of the galaxy's most dangerous predators approach. His home, he should have been running or screaming or begging for mercy. Instead, he looked almost relaxed. Hello, Zexthai, Morrison called out when the lead warriors were still 50 yards away. His voice carried clearly across the distance. I wondered when you would come back. The casual greeting sent a chill down Zexthai's spine. This was not how prey was supposed to behave. Jake Morrison stood on his porch, watching the Cathara warriors spread out across his wheat field. The alien predators moved with deadly grace, their weapons gleaming in the afternoon sun. Most people would have been terrified. Jake felt only a deep calm that came from 3 years of careful preparation. Behind him, the screen door creaked open. Amy Carter stepped out, holding 2 cups of coffee. She was his closest neighbor, a widow who ran the farm next to his. Amy had become a good friend over the past year, and Jake hated that she was about to see what he really was. Jake, what are those things? Amy asked, her voice tight with fear. The coffee cup shook in her hands as she stared at the approaching aliens. Go back inside, Amy, Jake said quietly. Pack a bag for you and the kids. Drive to your sister's place in the southern settlements. Do it now. I'm not leaving you alone with those monsters. Jake turned to look at her. Amy was a strong woman who had raised 2 children by herself after her husband died in a mining accident. She had courage, but this was not her fight. Amy, please, I know what I'm doing. She studied his face and saw something there that made her step back. You've been expecting this, haven't you? All those late nights in your workshop, all those mysterious packages being delivered, You've been preparing for this. Jake nodded. For 3 years. Now please, get your kids and go. This is going to get very dangerous very quickly. Amy looked out at the alien warriors, then back at Jake. Will I see you again? I hope so. She squeezed his shoulder once, then went back inside. Within minutes, Jake heard her car starting up and driving away toward the main road. That was one worry off his mind. The Cathara were closer now, maybe 30 yards away. Zexthai stood in the center of their formation, his massive frame making him easy to identify. The alien captain had grown larger since their last meeting, probably from successful hunts on other worlds. His armor was newer and more decorated, marking him as a warrior of high status. You look well, Morrison, Zexthai called out in his accented English. Farming life agrees with you. It has its benefits, Jake replied. Quiet, peaceful, good for thinking. And what have you been thinking about during these quiet years? Jake smiled. You, mostly, and your people. I've learned a lot about the Cathara since we last met. Zexthai's mandibles clicked, a sound Jake remembered from their first encounter. It meant the alien was either amused or annoyed. You studied. Your betters? How very human of you. I studied my enemies, Jake corrected. There's a difference. The alien warriors had formed a loose circle around the farmhouse now. Jake counted 20 of them, all carrying advanced weapons. Their leader, Threx, was scanning the buildings with some kind of detection device. Jake wondered what the scanner was telling him. Sir, Threx reported to his captain, I am still detecting those unusual energy signatures. They are stronger near the main building. Zexthai's yellow eyes focused on Jake. What technology do you have hidden in your little farm, human? Nothing? That would interest you, Jake said. Just some improvements I've made over the years. That was not entirely true. The workshop behind his house contained equipment that would have impressed engineers from a dozen different species. But Jake had learned to be careful with the truth during his years of preparation. You seem very calm for someone about to die, Zexthai observed. Have you accepted your fate? I've accepted a lot of things, Jake replied. The nature of predators. The importance of evolution. The fact that sometimes the prey has to become something else to survive. Zexthai laughed, a harsh sound that made several of his warriors click their claws in approval. Brave words. But you are still just a human, and we are still Cathara. The outcome of this encounter is not in doubt. Jake reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device that looked like a modified communicator. You know, that's exactly what you said 3 years ago on Kepler 442b, right before I started killing your hunting pack. The memory made Zexthai's expression darken. That was different. You had the advantage of familiar terrain and preparation. Time, here, you have nowhere to run and no tricks to save you. You're right about one thing, Jake said, thumbing a switch on the device. I'm not running anywhere. A pulse of energy erupted from the device, spreading outward in all directions. The Cathara warriors immediately raised their weapons, but nothing seemed to happen. No explosion, no visible effects. Just a brief shimmer in the air, and then silence. What was that supposed to accomplish? Zexthai demanded. Communication, Jake said simply. I just sent a message to some friends of mine. Threx was studying a scanner with increasing alarm. Sir, I am detecting massive energy buildups in orbit. Something is coming out of hyperspace. Zexthai kept his eyes on Jake. You called for help? How many human ships do you think it will take to stop us from completing our hunt? I didn't call human ships, Jake said. The first vessel dropped out of hyperspace directly above them. Its massive shadow falling across the farm, but it was not a human ship. The sleek, predatory lines and bioluminescent markings identified it immediately as Cathara design. Then another ship appeared, and another. Zexthai stared up at the vessels with growing confusion. Those are ships of my people, but they are not from my clan. No, Jake agreed. They're not. The lead ship began its descent, its engines creating a wind that bent the wheat stalks flat as it landed in the field opposite Zexthai's vessel. Jake could see the markings on its hull clearly. They were Cathara symbols, but not ones that Zexthai would recognize with pleasure. Veltar clan, Threx whispered, his voice filled with disbelief. Zexthai's claws extended involuntarily. The Veltar were the traditional enemies of his people, rivals who had been fighting his clan for generations. What were they doing here? How had Morrison contacted them? The ship's loading ramp lowered, and figures began to emerge. At first, they looked like more Cathara warriors. But as they came closer, Jake could see that half of them were human. They moved together with the coordination of a well-trained unit, humans and Cathara working side by side. Leading them was a massive Cathara who stood even taller than Zexthai. His armor was scarred from countless battles, and his left arm had been replaced with a mechanical prosthetic that gleamed with built-in weapons. This was clearly a warrior of great experience and skill. "War Prime Keshver," Zexthai said, his voice tight with old hatred. "I should have known you would be involved in this somehow." The scarred Cathara approached until he was just outside the circle of Zexthai's warriors. "Hello, cousin. Still hunting defenseless prey, I see." "These humans are not defenseless," Zexthai replied. "This one killed half my hunting pack." "Then perhaps you should have left him alone," Keshver suggested. "But you never were very good at learning from your mistakes." Jake stepped down from his porch and walked toward the two alien leaders. The Cathara warriors tracked him with their weapons, but none of them fired. The situation was too complex now for simple violence. "Keshver," Jake said, nodding to the scarred warrior, "thanks for coming so quickly." "You said the harvest was ready," Keshver replied in perfect English. "We have been looking forward to this day." Zexthai's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. "What harvest? What are you talking about?" Jake smiled. "The harvest of alliance, Zexthai. 3 years ago, you taught me that the galaxy is full of predators. So I decided to find some of my own." More ships were dropping out of hyperspace now, filling the sky above Haven's Rest. Some were Cathara vessels, others were of unknown design. All of them carried the same symbol that Jake now saw on Keshver's armor, a stylized representation of two different species working together. "Welcome to the Apex Consortium," Jake said. "We've been waiting for you." Zexthai felt his world crumbling around him. The sky above Haven's Rest was filled with ships, and more were arriving every minute. What should have been a simple hunt for revenge had become something far more complicated and dangerous. The ships were not all the same design. Some were clearly Cathara vessels, but others looked different. Jake Morrison stood between the two groups of alien warriors, looking completely relaxed despite being surrounded by enough firepower to level a city. "I don't understand," Zexthai said, his voice carrying a note of confusion that his warriors had never heard before. "How did you contact the Veltar?" "How did you even know they existed?" Keshver answered instead of Morrison. "The human found us, cousin. 3 years ago, he sent a message to every exile camp and outcast settlement in this sector. He offered us something we had not had in decades." "Which was what?" "Purpose," Morrison said, "and partnership." More figures were emerging from the landed ships now. Zexthai could see humans and Cathara working together, carrying equipment and setting up what looked like a temporary command post. They moved with the efficiency of people who had been working as a team for a long time. One of the humans approached Morrison. She was a middle-aged woman with graying hair and the bearing of someone used to command. "Jake, we detected Zexthai's ship as soon as it entered the system. Are you ready to proceed?" "As ready as I'll ever be, Commander Phillips," Morrison replied. "How many ships did we bring?" 15 vessels, mixed human and Cathara crews. About 300 personnel total. Phillips looked at Zexthai's warriors with professional interest. "Is this his entire hunting pack?" 20 warriors plus ship crew, Morrison confirmed. Standard Cathara hunting formation. Zexthai listened to this exchange with growing alarm. These humans and Cathara were discussing his forces like they were studying an interesting specimen. There was no fear, no uncertainty. They had been expecting him and they were prepared. "What do you want?" Zexthai demanded. "If this is about revenge for my previous hunts, then face me in single combat." There's no need to involve others. Keshver laughed, a sound like grinding stone. Still thinking like a primitive hunter? Morrison, show him what we have accomplished together. Morrison reached into his pocket and pulled out another device, this one larger than the first. When he activated it, a holographic display appeared in the air above them. The image showed a star map with dozens of marked locations. These are the worlds we've explored together over the past 3 years, Morrison explained. Places too dangerous for either humans or Cathara to investigate alone. Death worlds, unstable systems, regions controlled by hostile species. The display changed, showing images of alien creatures and environments that made even Zexthai's experienced warriors shift uncomfortably. Crystalline beings that could phase through matter, gas clouds that dissolved metal on contact, predators that made the Cathara look gentle by comparison. We've made contact with 17 new species, Morrison continued. Established trade routes through areas that were previously impassable. Discovered resources that neither of our peoples could have found alone. Impossible, Zexthai said. Humans are weak. They cannot survive in such places. Alone, you're right, Morrison agreed. But humans aren't meant to be alone. We're pack hunters, Zexthai. We survive by working together, by making allies, by turning enemies into friends. Commander Phillips stepped forward. The Cathara who joined us aren't the weak outcasts you might expect. They're some of the finest warriors in the galaxy, individuals who were exiled for refusing to follow outdated traditions. She gestured toward Keshver and his team. War Prime Keshver was cast out for questioning whether hunting intelligent species was truly honorable. Huntress Veldara was exiled for suggesting that the Cathara could learn from other cultures. Scout leader Thexmore was banished for refusing to kill civilians during a raid. Zexthai looked at the mixed group of humans and Cathara with new eyes. These were not the desperate outcasts he had imagined. They were disciplined, well-equipped, and clearly experienced. Some of the Cathara warriors bore scars that spoke of battles against truly dangerous opponents. You have been building an army, he accused. We've been building something better, Morrison replied. A partnership. Each species contributes what they do best. Humans provide innovation, adaptability, and logistics. Cathara provides strength, tactical expertise, and combat experience. The holographic display changed again, showing technical diagrams and equipment specifications. Zexthai could see weapons that combined human technology with Cathara engineering, armor systems that would make a warrior nearly invulnerable, and ships designed for operations in the galaxy's most hostile regions. The neural disruptor I used earlier, Morrison said, indicating one of the diagrams, was designed by human scientists and Cathara bioengineers working together. It can disable Cathara nervous systems without permanent damage. Your weapons are currently offline because of it. Zexthai looked down at his plasma rifle. The weapon felt dead in his hands, its power cells drained by whatever Morrison had done. Around him, his warriors were discovering the same problem. They were armed with nothing but their natural weapons now. This is treachery, Threx snarled. You use our own people against us? I use volunteers, Morrison corrected. Every Cathara in the consortium chose to be here. No one was forced or tricked into joining, Keshver spoke up. I chose to work with humans because they offered me something our own people never did. Respect. They listen to our ideas, value our experience, and treat us as equals rather than tools for violence. Equals? Zexthai's voice was filled with disbelief. You are apex predators. They are prey animals. How can you be equals? Because strength isn't just about who can kill who, a new voice said. Everyone turned to see another figure approaching from the ship. This was a Cathara female, but she moved differently than the males. Her armor was lighter, designed for speed and flexibility rather than raw protection. She carried tools instead of weapons, and her eyes held the sharp intelligence of a natural scientist. Huntress Veldara, Morrison said with obvious respect. How did the tests go? Better than expected, she replied. The local soil composition is perfect for the new agricultural techniques we developed. This world could feed 10 times its current population with the right methods. Zexthai stared at her. You are teaching humans to farm? I am learning from them, Veldara corrected. Human agriculture is far more sophisticated than we ever realized. They can grow food in environments where nothing should survive. Combined with Kithara knowledge of biological adaptation, we have created crops that can grow on worlds previously considered barren. The implications of this hit Zexthai like a physical blow. If humans and Kithara could work together to transform dead worlds into agricultural centers, what else could they accomplish? How many assumptions about the natural order were simply wrong? Show him the Terminus Station project, Commander Phillips suggested. The holographic display changed once more, showing what looked like a massive space station under construction. The design was unlike anything Zexthai had ever seen, combining architectural elements from multiple species into something entirely new. This is our main base of operations, Morrison explained. Built in the neutral zone between human and Kithara space. It serves as a trading post, research facility, and diplomatic center for the 17 species we've made contact with. Impossible, Zexthai repeated, but his voice lacked conviction now. Come and see for yourself, Keshvar offered. Bring your warriors. See what cooperation can accomplish that conquest never could. Zexthai looked around at his hunting pack. They were still dangerous, still capable fighters, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. More importantly, they were facing something they had never encountered before, an alternative to the way things had always been. And if I refuse? He asked. Morrison shrugged. Then you leave. We won't stop you. But the galaxy is changing, Zexthai. The old ways of thinking about predator and prey, hunter and hunted, are becoming obsolete. You can evolve with it, or you can be left behind. The choice hung in the air like a challenge, waiting for Zexthai's response. Zexthai stood in the wheat field, surrounded by evidence that everything he believed about the universe was wrong. The Apex Consortium had shown him 3 years of accomplishments that should have been impossible. Humans and Kithara working together, treating each other as equals, achieving things that neither species could do alone, but accepting this new reality meant abandoning everything that made him who he was. Zexthai had been raised to believe that the Kithara were the galaxy's supreme predators. His entire identity was built on that foundation. To admit that humans could be partners rather than prey would destroy everything he thought he knew about himself. I need time to consider this, Zexthai said finally. Morrison nodded. Fair enough. But while you're thinking, maybe you'd like to see a demonstration of what we've learned. What kind of demonstration? Keshvar was studying a device on his wrist, his expression growing concerned. Jake, we have a problem. Long-range sensors are detecting an incoming threat. Commander Phillips activated her own communication device. Command, this is Phillips. What's the nature of the threat? A voice crackled through the speaker. Commander, we have multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Configuration suggests void stalkers. Every Kithara present, including Zexthai's warriors, took an involuntary step backward. The void stalkers were one of the galaxy's most feared species. They were crystalline beings that fed on the life force of other creatures, leaving behind only empty husks. They had destroyed entire worlds, turning thriving civilizations into dead rocks in space. How many ships? Morrison asked, his calm demeanor never wavering. Preliminary count shows 12 vessels, heavy cruiser class. Estimated arrival at Haven's Rest in 40 minutes. Zexthai felt his blood turn cold. 12 Void Stalker cruisers could sterilize this entire world. Every living thing on the planet would be dead within hours. We need to evacuate immediately. He said, My ship can carry perhaps 50 people. Your vessels might save a few hundred more, but the rest will be fine, Morrison said. Commander, initiate Protocol 7, acknowledged. All ships, this is Phillips. We have incoming Void Stalkers. Implement defensive formation, Charlie. Prepare for combat operations. Zexthai watched in amazement as the mixed fleet of human and Kithara vessels began moving with precision that rivaled the best military units he had ever seen. Ships that had been scattered across the sky reorganized themselves into a coordinated battle formation. In minutes. "You cannot fight the Void Stalkers," Zexthai protested. "They are immune to most weapons. Their crystalline structure absorbs energy attacks and redirects the power back at attackers. Entire Kithara battle fleets have been destroyed trying to fight them." "That's because you were fighting them the wrong way," Veldara said. She was working at a portable computer terminal, her claws moving rapidly over the controls. Void Stalkers are adapted to fight single-species opponents. They have never faced a coordinated human Kithara response. "What difference does that make?" Morrison answered. "Humans and Kithara think differently. We approach problems from different angles. When you combine those approaches, you get solutions that neither species would discover alone." The first Void Stalker ships appeared in the sky, their dark crystalline hulls reflecting the sunlight like black mirrors. They moved with an eerie grace, seeming to flow through space rather than fly. Even at a distance, their presence felt wrong, as if they were holes in reality itself. "Void Stalker tactics are predictable," Commander Phillips explained as she coordinated the defense. "They rely on their energy absorption ability to make themselves nearly invulnerable. They expect opponents to attack with conventional weapons and fail. So what do you do instead?" Threx asked. Despite his loyalty to Zexthai, he was clearly fascinated by what he was seeing. "We don't attack their ships directly," Keshver said. "We attack the space around them." The Consortium fleet had positioned itself in a complex, three-dimensional formation around Haven's Rest. Human ships took positions that seemed almost random, while Kithara vessels formed precise geometric patterns. To Zexthai it looked like chaos. Then the attack began. The human ships fired first, but their weapons were unlike anything Zexthai had seen before. Instead of energy beams or projectiles, they launched clouds of what looked like metallic dust into space around the Void Stalker fleet. "Nanoscale disruption particles," Morrison explained. "Human nanotechnology combined with Kithara bioengineering. They're designed to interfere with crystalline molecular structures." The Void Stalkers ignored the seemingly harmless dust clouds and continued their approach toward the planet. Their own weapons began charging, preparing to drain the life from everything below. That was when the Kithara ships opened fire, but they were not aiming at the Void Stalkers either. Instead, they fired at specific points in space where the dust clouds were thickest. The energy beams struck the nanoparticles and were absorbed, just as the Consortium forces had planned. "The particles store the energy temporarily," Veldara explained, her eyes never leaving her instruments. "When they reach critical mass, they release it all at once in a precisely controlled burst." The space around the Void Stalker fleet suddenly erupted in brilliant flashes of light. The crystalline ships, expecting to absorb incoming energy, were hit instead by chaotic bursts from all directions. Their molecular structure, so effective at redirecting focused attacks, could not handle the random energy patterns one by one. The Void Stalker vessels began to crack. Their crystalline hulls, moments before seemingly invulnerable, split apart like glass under pressure. Within minutes, the entire enemy fleet was reduced to glittering debris. Zexthai and his warriors stood in stunned silence. They had just witnessed 12 of the galaxy's most dangerous warships destroyed in a matter of minutes by a tactic that no single species could have developed. "How is this possible?" Zexthai whispered. "Human innovation and Kithara precision," Morrison said simply. "Humans thought of using nanoparticles as energy storage devices. Kithara developed the targeting systems needed to place them exactly where they needed to be. Neither approach would work alone, but together they defeated an enemy that has terrorized the galaxy for centuries," Commander Phillips finished. The implications were staggering. If the Consortium could defeat Void Stalkers this easily, what other supposedly impossible challenges could they overcome? How many problems that seemed unsolvable were actually just waiting for the right combination of different perspectives? "This changes everything," Threx said, speaking the words that Zexthai was thinking but could not bring himself to say. Keshver approached his cousin, his expression serious but not hostile. This is what we have been trying to show you, Zexthai. The old ways of thinking about strength and weakness, predator and prey, are not just wrong, they are limiting us. For generations, our people have defined themselves by what they can kill, Veldara added. But what if we defined ourselves by what we can create instead? Zexthai looked around at the mixed group of humans and Cathara. They had just accomplished something that military strategists throughout the galaxy would have said was impossible. They had done it by abandoning everything that the Cathara traditionally believed about warfare and cooperation. What would you have me do? He asked finally. Morrison stepped forward. The same thing I did 3 years ago when you first hunted me. Evolve, adapt, become something more than what you were. And if I choose not to, then you leave and the galaxy moves on without you. But think about what you've seen today, Zexthai. Think about what your warriors could accomplish if they were partners rather than predators. Zexthai looked at his hunting pack. They were still his warriors, still loyal to him. But he could see the questions in their eyes. They had witnessed something today that challenged everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe. The choice was no longer just about revenge or honor. It was about evolution itself. The debris from the Void Stalker fleet drifted through space like dying stars, each piece glowing as it burned up in Haven's Rest's atmosphere. Zexthai watched the light show with eyes that saw everything differently now. In less than an hour, his entire understanding of the universe had been turned upside down. His warriors stood around him in the wheat field, their weapons still disabled, their confidence shaken. These were some of the finest hunters in Cathara space, veterans of countless successful raids. But today they had seen their supposed prey accomplish something that the greatest Cathara fleets had never managed. Sir, Threx said quietly, what are your orders? Zexthai did not answer immediately. He was thinking about the last 3 years, about the shame that had driven him across the galaxy seeking revenge. He had believed that killing Jake Morrison would restore his honor and prove that the Cathara were still the galaxy's apex predators. Instead, Morrison had shown him that the very concept of apex predator might be meaningless. Jake Morrison approached the group of Cathara warriors, moving slowly and keeping his hands visible. Even though their weapons were disabled, these aliens were still dangerous with their natural claws and strength. But Morrison seemed completely unafraid. I know this is difficult, Morrison said, addressing Zexthai directly. 3 years ago, I had to face the same choice you're facing now. Everything I thought I knew about survival was wrong. What choice did you face? Zexthai asked. The choice between staying afraid or getting stronger. When you hunted me on Kepler 442b, I barely survived. I spent weeks hiding in caves, setting traps, running from you like a scared animal. I could have gone home after that, hidden on some safe human world, and tried to forget it ever happened. Morrison gestured toward the mixed fleet overhead. Instead, I chose to learn. I studied your people, your culture, your history. I discovered that not all Cathara think the same way. Some of them were asking the same questions I was. Keshvar stepped forward. Questions like whether strength really comes from killing or whether it might come from building something better. Veldara added her voice. Questions about whether being a predator means you have to hunt alone or whether cooperation might make you stronger than you ever imagined. Zexthai looked at his cousin and the other consortium Cathara. They seemed different from the warriors he knew. Their posture was confident but not aggressive. They carried themselves like people who have found something worth fighting for rather than simply something to fight against. You abandoned the hunt, Zexthai said. You gave up what makes us Cathara. Did we? Keshvar challenged. Look around you. We just successfully hunted and killed 12 Void Stalker cruisers. Ships that have destroyed entire Cathara battle groups. How is that abandoning the hunt? You worked with prey species. We worked with allies, partners, equals. Keshvar's voice grew stronger. And together, we accomplished something that no Cathara hunting pack has ever done. We eliminated a threat that has plagued the galaxy for centuries. Commander Phillips was coordinating the cleanup operations, but she took a moment to join the conversation. The consortium doesn't ask anyone to stop being what they are. We ask them to become more than what they were. She looked directly at Zexthai. Your people are incredible warriors. Your tactical instincts, your physical capabilities, your understanding of combat dynamics, these are gifts that the galaxy needs. But when you limit yourselves to traditional hunting, you're wasting most of your potential. What would you have us do instead? Thrax asked. His loyalty to Zexthai was absolute, but his curiosity was clearly aroused. Morrison smiled. Hunt bigger prey? Hunt challenges that matter. Hunt solutions to problems that have been considered unsolvable. He activated another holographic display. This one showing star charts marked with various symbols. The galaxy is full of real threats. Species like the void stalkers that feed on other life forms. Rogue artificial intelligences that view all biological life as a virus to be eliminated. Ancient automated weapon systems left over from dead civilizations. The display zoomed in on specific regions. Pirates who prey on peaceful trade routes. Slavers who capture civilians from underdeveloped worlds. Corporate interests that strip mine inhabited planets without regard for the native populations. These are the targets worthy of Kithara warriors, Veldara said. Enemies that fight back. Challenges that require all of your skills and more. Zexthai studied the star chart. Many of the marked locations were places he recognized as too dangerous for normal operations. Regions where even experienced Kithara hunting packs feared to go. You hunt in the dead zones? We explore them, Morrison corrected. We map them. We neutralize the threats they contain. And we do it together, combining human adaptability with Kithara combat expertise. One of Zexthai's warriors, a young female, named Kexalara, spoke up. Sir, may I ask a question? Zexthai nodded. What glory is there in hunting farmers and surveyors? What honor comes from killing people who cannot fight back? She looked around at the consortium forces. But hunting void stalkers? Protecting innocent worlds from real monsters? That seems like the kind of challenge worthy of our abilities. Several other warriors murmured agreement. Zexthai realized that his pack was wavering, influenced by what they had seen today. The old certainties were crumbling. There would be conditions, Keshver said. The consortium has rules. No hunting of civilian populations. No taking of trophies from intelligent beings. No unnecessary violence. Then how do we prove our worth as warriors? Zexthai demanded. By the challenges you overcome, Morrison replied. By the lives you save. By the impossible things you make possible. He gestured toward the sky where the consortium fleet maintained its protective formation. Every ship up there has humans and Kithara working together. They've explored regions of space that were considered unreachable. They've made contact with species that were thought to be extinct. They've solved problems that both our peoples working separately couldn't handle. And the rewards? Purpose? Veldara said simply. The knowledge that your strength matters. That your skills are being used to build something better rather than just destroy things. Commander Phillips added, plus access to technologies and resources that neither species could develop alone. Better weapons, better armor, better ships. The kind of equipment that makes a warrior truly formidable. Zexthai was quiet for a long moment. Around him, his warriors waited for his decision. These were people who had followed him across the galaxy, trusting his judgment and his leadership. Whatever choice he made would affect all of their lives. If I agreed to this, he said finally, what would happen to my hunting pack? They would become consortium operatives, Morrison replied. Full partners with the same rights and responsibilities as every other member, human and Kithara alike. And our traditions? Our culture? Would be preserved and respected, Keshver assured him. The consortium doesn't try to make anyone abandon their heritage, we just ask that you expand it. Zexthai looked at each of his warriors in turn. He saw curiosity in their eyes and hope, and something he had never seen before, the possibility of being part of something larger than themselves. Very well, he said at last. We will try this new way of hunting. the smile that spread across Morrison's face was genuine and warm. "Welcome to the consortium, War Leaders XTHI. I think you're going to like what we hunt next." Above them, the stars waited, full of challenges worthy of the galaxy's greatest predators.